What's up, crypto enthusiasts? Welcome back to Wise Staking. We're going to be talking about the mass liquidity that the Wise token is putting on Uniswap because I get these questions now and again from people thinking that because we're putting large liquidity on Uniswap, it's going to be harder and not as easy to actually pump the price so that they'll be able to get, their 10x, 100x, 1000x gains if they stake with the project. And that couldn't be further from the truth. And it's also an extremely annoying question for me because I know how everything works and I understand. And we chose to use that money. Like, we could have used that money for anything, but we chose to use it to create a massive pool of liquidity on Uniswap. And this is the best thing that could ever happen for a project. It's the best use of the money. Point blank, I'm going to show you today why that's the case. So it perturbs me that people actually think that putting large amounts of money, creating an instantly massive market, will actually make it harder for people to invest. That's just not the case. So first of all, let's go over the ways we could have used the money, because there's other good things that people are doing with the money. Wise is nonprofit. After paying for the actual creation of Wise itself, there's a small startup fee, and then all the money gets put on Uniswap to form the market. Then the keys are burned, creating ownerless liquidity. So that's awesome, but we could have done some other things. For instance, we could do a buy and burn type of thing. There's other projects that use money coming in to, buy their own tokens on the market and either burn it or distribute it to holders as dividends, that type of thing. So there's two issues why this isn't the best use for the money. The first is this really only works for projects that have ongoing profits coming in. So, like, for instance, if they tax sells, that's money coming in every single day potentially. Of course, it only works when there's a lot of buys and sells and there's a lot of tax generating a lot of revenue. And the downfall of that whole idea is when you need the price to pump the most is when you're going to have the least amount of activity. So it doesn't really work. Also, you don't really want to do that with the initial pot of money. So there's some projects that take that initial pot of money and say, we're going to dedicate a portion of it just to, buy up tokens and pay people back as dividends, which might be great for that day, but it's really bad for the project in the long run. It basically creates a Ponzi scheme effect where, new money is paying old users, and it's great for a short-term pump. But if you're thinking, months down the road, years down the road, what is that price pump and the distribution of tokens going to get you? Absolutely nothing. It doesn't do anything lasting for the market. So the buy and burn and the dividends idea is one thing we could do with the money, but very, very bad option. Another thing people are doing with the money is they are lending it out to protocols such as Aave Lending, Compound, MakerDAO, that type of thing, to make interest. And this is a good use of the money, but the thing is, you can only make like 14% ROI annually. So 14% ROI annually, that's not enough money compared to other ways, other cryptos that are making huge gains. Like, you might as well just put your money in Ethereum or put your money in Bitcoin. You're most likely going to beat 14% gain. So we saw YFI go from like $35 all the way up to $44,000, but was that from the interest they made in Aave Lending and Compound, etc.? No, it wasn't. It was off the hype of the token. It was off the hype of people coming in. Oh, this is the best thing ever. Andrew Cronje, blah, blah, blah. Good project, but it's more of like a retirement account. So like, that money's not going to snowball for a long time. It's not providing enough value. So that is a better use of the money, but not the best use of the money. The best use of the money is to create an instant market. And I already explained this in my other video about massive liquidity on Uniswap. I'll link it here at the end. But creating massive liquidity on Uniswap does something very, very special as far as creating an instant market and very little slippage. And this is extremely important because it allows for larger bags to be able to buy in. So somebody that likes the project, wants to invest $10,000, $100,000, $1 million, would be able to do it if there's a big market. Whereas if you didn't put that money on Uniswap and you have a smaller market cap, they're not going to be able to invest as much because of slippage. And just really quick, in case people don't understand what slippage is, basically the more money you trade, the bigger of a price impact it has. Like, see if now this is a whole lot of money because this is a huge market as well. But this would be me losing 17.67% of my money if I made a trade like this. Now looking at the pool info here, we can see that there's $35 million here. So that's a huge pot of liquidity. And this is like enough liquidity where people can put millions of dollars in before you have to worry about slippage. So that is so important. It's a good use of the money. But the thing is, people think that means that big liquidity pools can't pump. And that's not the case at all because of how Uniswap's market maker works. So Uniswap's market maker is the more you buy, it goes up exponentially. It doesn't go up linearly, it goes up exponentially. So a lot of people buying is still going to really pump up the price. Now I've got a market maker right here, and this shows that let's say we put $50 million initially on Uniswap. After 1 year, we would need $110 million coming in the first year in net positive buys on Uniswap to create a 10.24x. So in order to create more than that, we'd need a lot of money. But the thing is, people are thinking that what if we just had $5 million on Uniswap? Then we could have gotten a 529x instead of a 10x. But the thing is, no. If we only had 5 million on Uniswap, that's that many less users as well. So we're still getting the 10x. Because think about it this way: if you and I are the only people in Wise, let's just simplify it. I put in 1 Ethereum, you put in 1 Ethereum. Boom, the launch ends, we got 2 Ethereum, we pair it with Wise, our liquidity pool is worth 4 Ethereum because, we got the 2 Ethereum and then our Wise. So then we go tell our friends and family, you go tell our friends and family, and between the two of us, we bring in some more people, and throughout the year, we get more people to join, 10 more people contributing 10 more Ethereum total. So then we have we started with a liquidity pool value of 4 Ethereum, and then 10 Ethereum net positive buys throughout the year. The price is going to go up significantly. So tell me, what would be different in a scenario where instead of just you and me, there's actually 1 million people? What would be different in that scenario? Are you all of a sudden not going to tell your friends and family if we raise 50 million instead of 5 million? Is that what's going to happen? Because I'm telling people, like I'm telling my friends and family even more if that was going to happen. So people have this idea that it's going to be harder, and it's like, no, it's not going to be harder. It's the exact same amount of energy. We have more people talking about Wise in that case. So if we have $100 million in ownerless liquidity, that just means we have that much more people than if we only put $5 million in ownerless liquidity. So it's going to be just as easy to 10x, 100x, etc. And the thing is, it's going to be even easier because we have the network effect. So if we only put $5 million on Uniswap, that's no big deal. People do that all the time. Like it's more than like 90% of other projects that are starting out. They usually put in less than $100,000 on Uniswap liquidity, but it's nothing, to call home about. So in that case, we only have a set amount of adoption. But if we put $100 million on Uniswap liquidity, even if we put $50 million on Uniswap liquidity, that's going to cause some waves. That's going to get more people talking about us. That's going to get, the bigger players involved and their ears perking up. We might even, get on some news channels that we wouldn't have before because, we made such a big splash in the space. And all of a sudden we've got the network effects. And then all of a sudden it's not just me telling my loved ones and the people on my YouTube channel and you telling your loved ones and, writing an article or whatever. Now, all of a sudden, we're reaching people that never would have heard of the project before if it was smaller, but now it's bigger. So we have the network effect. So don't look at the big numbers and think, oh, it's going to be so hard to pump. No, it's going to be just as easy to pump. It's actually going to be better the more liquidity you have. And creating mass liquidity on Uniswap is the best possible thing to happen ever. So at the beginning of this video, I explained that the main reason why creating a mass pool of liquidity is the best thing that you could ever do for your project because of slippage and allowing it to grow to a large market cap way faster than Bitcoin did, way faster than Ethereum did, because instead of having to slowly build up the market, you boom, got an instant market of, $100 million, whatever it ends up being. People can invest more, allowing the market cap to grow. Whereas, if we only put in like $100,000 worth of liquidity, people couldn't invest that much money, even if they wanted to. So that's a big deal. But there's two other reasons why creating mass liquidity is so huge. Second reason, it's because it creates a provable value for the entire project. Now, the reason why it creates provable value for the entire project is because we're not just putting mass liquidity on Uniswap, but then the contract also burns the keys in the same transaction. So by keys, I mean the Uniswap LP tokens, the only thing that would be able to remove that liquidity. So this is really important, and this means that liquidity is not able to be removed. So if you got a big pot of money sitting on Uniswap that is, half Ethereum and half Wise that can't be removed, that means that all the Wise tokens in the system, they have a provable value because you can go get that value on Uniswap. So Wise has a provable value compared to pretty much all other cryptocurrencies that don't have provable value. They have assessments of values. They can go down to nearly zero. They can go down to zero and be absolutely worthless. Wise can't. It's going to have a provable value that is backed up by the pot of money on Uniswap. Not only that, but that pot of money on Uniswap is collecting fees. And nobody owns it, so it's just collecting fees for itself, and it's growing bigger and bigger and bigger. So let's look at the fees on this pool right here. So the Uni ETH pair, $5 million in volume. That created $17,000 of fees in the last 24 hours. So these fees like this in Wise are going to be rolled back into the pool every single day because nobody owns it. So it just makes that liquidity bigger and bigger and bigger. So when that happens, that increases the value of Wise. So we start at, so that means that even if with nobody else buying in, even if, someday pretty much everybody is using Wise and there isn't like huge massive adoption anymore, well, then the chance to, 1000x, your money is gone and things are more stable. We're just going to go back to the actual interest that Wise creates. But the value is going to come from transaction fees at that point because this massive pot of money on Uniswap is growing and growing and growing and growing. So the last thing I want to point out is that not only is it going to create a provable value for Wise, but it's also going to create a price floor, because the price floor would be if all the circulating Wise in the system cashed out 100% of it. So everybody holding Wise were to cash out, then that would be the price floor. So right after launch, the way Uniswap works, we have 50% on Uniswap that is ownerless and 50% in the hands of the people that bought it. If nobody staked and everybody instead just cashed out all their Wise, that would drop the price of Wise on Uniswap by 75%. So we know that the price floor right after launch is 25% of whatever it's listed for if everyone were to sell. So we know that's the absolute bottom. Now, of course, it's closer to 100% for the first people that sell, but as they sell, it would go down and down and down. If you were the very last person cashing out, you would get 25% of your money back. But the great majority of people would get, at least 50% of their money back. There's no other crypto that is like that. And the thing is, those fees every single day are increasing the value so that price floor is raising higher and higher and higher. So this is the awesomeness of mass liquidity on Uniswap, and nobody's doing this. Nobody's doing this because they're not willing to allow tens of millions of dollars to slip through their fingers without taking a big cut for themselves. There's no other projects that are willing to do that. Wise is a nonprofit. Wise is doing this, and this is the best ever use case, the best ever value creator you could possibly have for when you invest in crypto. There's no better way to directly back up the thing that you just bought than to do something like this, where you take at least 90% of that money and put it directly into the market, backing up your investment. So hope that cleared things up for you guys. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. Make sure you're subscribed as well, and I will see you in the next video.